Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. This guy is the absolute worst. He's the worst of the worst. He's a scoundrel of the highest order. I'm of course referring to the current president. President, my butt's been wiped, Biden. When you think about a dishonest crony politician, the first person who should come to mind is Joe. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a politician so unable to hide his contempt for voters and the interest of American citizens. I don't know if it's just because he's 80 years old and clearly suffering from dementia, and so he just isn't slick enough anymore to hide it. I don't know what it is, but this guy just does it all in the open. He punches you in the stomach while you're literally staring at him. You saw him do it, and then he says, "Oh, listen, Jack, Corn Pop did that. I saw him. He just did it, and he ran away around the corner, fast like a gazelle." You know, he's the guy who brought you inflation. He did nothing about it. He continued to make it worse and spend more, despite all the warnings. But then he turns around deep in election season and tries to paint himself as the guy who fixed inflation, continuously lying that inflation was at 9% when he took office.
No president's had the run we've had in terms of creating jobs and bringing down inflation. It was 9% when I came to office.
Even though we all know it was at 1.4%. He's the guy who causes a problem, does nothing about it, and then waits till election season to run on that problem. He's the most dishonest political scoundrel. He's the most typical Democrat, exacerbate the problem and then run on fixing the problem indefinitely. And here we go again, that same MO on the issue of immigration. After more than 3 years of complete chaos following Joe Biden's initial executive orders, well, he's now pretending to be a staunch border hawk right ahead of the next election. I don't know where they got this guy. You can't make this stuff up. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so let's lose a couple IQ points here. Let's read a Brian Krassenstein tweet. He writes, "Breaking, Joe Biden is readying a sweep executive order to curb migrant arrivals as soon as tomorrow, according to the CBS and BBC. Here's everything you need to know. Swift deportations, limiting arrivals, legal basis, historical use, asylum processing, political reactions, potential challenges, yada yada yada, a bunch of ChatGPT generated nonsense." But then he concludes with, "Call me crazy, but it seems like Biden is the only one who really wants to fix this problem while everyone else appears to use this as a political tool."
You're weird, buddy. You're weird.
Yes, Joe Biden apparently is the only one who cares about securing the southern border and doing something about the crisis. Holy frickin' moly, it took the guy, what, more than 2 years? Then where'd he show up again? I think El Paso. They cleaned the streets for him, brought him to an area of the border that wasn't a significant invasion point. He took a couple pictures and then immediately left and never even mentioned the border ever again. Joe Biden's the only serious guy. He's the least serious guy. The Krassensteins are getting absolutely dumpstered in the comment section. Biden could have made these moves anytime. This is an election year. Why is he just doing this now? He's had years and he's doing it months before an election. Very suspicious. Mr. Krassenstein believes that's because this individual hasn't been paying attention. He waited 4 years though. That's not correct. Right, of course. We remember when Biden tried to politically force Republicans to sign on to his border security bill, which of course was really just an expansion to the asylum-seeking scam system. There's no argument that you could make here. Even someone as dishonest as Brian Krassenstein isn't clever enough to spin this one. I think the people get it. You have Joe Biden who day one, week one, comes into office and then immediately overturns all of Donald Trump's executive actions on immigration. All the stuff that was keeping the border at least relatively tame and secure. Illegal immigration then surges. Biden goes on and on for years, talking about how he can't fix any of these problems that he created without Congress. Then of course states get involved. They try to do Joe Biden's job for him. Joe then fights them in court for trying to secure the border. Then peak election season hits. Biden's getting crushed in the polls, especially on the issue of immigration. His approval's in the 30s. He's down nationally to Trump and down in every single swing state. So then at the last second, he shows up and says, "I'm the guy for border security." And now he's trying to sign executive actions, essentially reverting back to the Trump era policies, you know, essentially redoing what he undid the moment he took office. And now leftoids are calling Joe Biden a genius, the only guy who actually cared about the border this whole time, and they want, I don't know, some sort of victory celebration for this old kook? Have I gone insane? Are we living in insano world? This is what I mean by Joe Biden is just the absolute frickin' worst. He is the most politician-like of any politician. He doesn't even try to hide it. He's the most blatantly dishonest, clear manipulator I've ever witnessed. He's the guy who's been serving in office for decades upon decades. He's done absolute F-all for your people. Let's say that group of people today, for sake of conversation, is the Hispanics. He's done F-all for Hispanics his entire career, let's be real. But then he'll show up at the last second. He'll shuffle on stage, grab his cell phone and play Despacito, and then look you in the eye and say, well, if you don't vote for me, well then, you're not Hispanic. He didn't literally say that to Hispanic voters. No, he reserved that insult specifically for black voters.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
He wouldn't show that much outright contempt for Hispanic voters, of course, because no, according to him, they're a much more diverse group of people.
What you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things.
He'll do nothing for you, then he'll pander in the most empty, vapid of ways, then essentially tell you that you have to vote for him or you're a bad person. You have to vote for him or you lose your racial identity. He's simply the worst. And now he wants a pat on the back as the tough on the border guy. The same guy who said this.
Part of what I'm going to send to the United States Congress is a total immigration bill to provide a pathway to citizenship for undocumented people in the United States of America. It makes no sense for us not to do that. And they're part of the reason why we're growing. They're part of the reason why, look, you have 24 out of every 100 kids in grades in school today are Latino, Spanish speaking. It makes no sense, none whatsoever, for us to walk away and not provide for access, not provide for education, not provide for health care. Look what's going on. And so it's part of the strength of the country. It's not a weakness, it's a strength.
The same guy who's currently being exposed as his administration is offering mass amnesty to migrants as it quietly terminates 350,000 asylum cases. They're terminating asylum cases without deportation orders, just allowing these people to wander in the country, totally unaccounted for and undocumented, without the looming court case, mass amnesty, and the creation of a permanent underclass, all while promising a path towards citizenship. He's the most dishonest, the most manipulative, the most duplicitous. He's the most politician of any politician I have ever witnessed. Oh, and he's got blood in his hands, considering his southern border migrant crisis continues to lead to situations like this.
As you wake up this morning, 2 officers were shot overnight. The suspect also shot in the exchange of gunfire.
First, a look at the gun. Police say 19-year-old suspect Bernardo Raul Castro Mata used to open fire on 2 NYPD officers overnight. Authorities saying he carried that firearm illegally and that it's now in evidence. Police also saying that suspect Bernardo Raul Castro Mata currently resides at a migrant shelter not too far away from here.
More criminal migrants gunning down police officers and American citizens. Meanwhile, the president's trying to take a victory lap on the issue. What an absolute farce. These people think you're stupid. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.